Hi and welcome to Preview. My name is Giampapa. Preview.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cue guy.
Our guest today is a man that Stoughton should be proud of. His name is Michael Fleur, and he's the Artistic Development Director for the State Theater here in Stoughton. And I just congratulate all those people that are on that committee that hired him, because we were talking earlier, and my God, this guy has a great background, and I want to introduce you to him now. His name is Michael Fleur, and I say welcome to our show, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, how do you like Stoughton?
I love it.
What's you seen of it so far?
So far, yeah. I think I like the spirit the most. It's been a long time since I've been involved in a town organization where people are so dedicated to making something happen. It's exciting.
It is. Yeah. How did all this come about?
It's kind of a long story, which I'll make short. I had a friend that ran a children's theater here locally, and between my own personal contracts, if I had free time, I would come and work with the kids, which is one of my second favorite things in the world to do, is work with young people. And through that process, I became acquainted with one of the students' mothers who was friends with some of the people on the board here at the State Theater. And she said, do you have someone that can run the theater side of the thing once this is open? And that conversation opened a door, and they said, why don't you stop by? I happened to be in the area, so I came in for a quick meeting and interview. Fast forward, here I am.
Wow.
Part of the team.
Just like that. Oh.
It actually was something I was looking for a long time. I was looking for a theater company that I could sort of marry and get off the road and settle down and forge a future with.
Prior to that, did you know about the situation at the State Theater?
I do, because oddly enough, this friend I was talking about earlier, we had looked at maybe expanding the business and finding better locations. One of the things I said was, wouldn't it be great if we could find like an old theater somewhere on the railroad tracks, on the commuter rail system, somewhere conveniently located outside of Boston, in a nice community that was really looking to see something special happen, theatrically speaking. And careful what you wish for.
Those are all magic words, because
Absolutely.
all that has happened so far.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been great fun.
I'll bet it has. Well, speaking of local theaters in this area, the area of Boston, we've had a few that have died and that have come back as live theater. Example, the Orpheum Theater in Foxborough. I don't know if you know that.
I've actually worked there.
Did you really?
Yeah, done a couple of productions for them, yes.
That's what did you do down there?
I did a production of The Secret Garden, and I did a production of The Addams Family.
Okay.
And great fun. Secret Garden won the Moss Hart Award,
Wow.
which was pretty exciting for everybody. But yeah, a very similar situation, an old movie theater that was rescued and turned into a live performance space, which we have so little of. It's amazing how little performance spaces there really are.
That particular theater had a very small stage, but then they expanded it as they renovated, and I guess that turned it into a success.
Yeah, I loved working there. It was great fun.
How long ago was that?
Oh, gosh, going back maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe.
Okay, yeah, because that's been in existence, the new theater, maybe 15 to 20 years now.
Right.
It's hard to believe that time's gone so
Bill
fast.
Cunningham
you know Bill?
Bill and I know each other from Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So we knew each other first that way, and then coming here, I went to work on a project at the Orpheum, and he walked down the hallway, and I'm like, what are you doing here? It was one of those sort of serendipitous moments, but yeah, he's a good friend.
Oh, isn't that funny? Well, I don't want to take away from the State Theater, but I did want to mention that, and I did want to mention that the Norwood Theater in Norwood, Massachusetts here was recently renovated. And we've had other theaters. In Arlington, Massachusetts, there was a movie theater that's been renovated. But it's not something that's unusual today. This has happened in a lot of places. And it's almost the same thing in Stoughton. You have what was once an old movie theater is hopefully being renovated.
Oh, no doubt that it will be. It's quite a magical place. When I walked in, it's in much better condition than I think a lot of people think it is.
Really?
Which is the good news. Yes, it has a lot of cosmetic work to be done, because it's set empty so long. But when you walk in, it's one of the old, they're called atmosphere theaters. Think of the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. We talked about earlier about where you watch the sunset and the stars appear on the ceiling. And, you know, so it harkens back to the day when going to the theater, as we talked about, was an event itself. Not only what happened on the stage or what happened on the screen, but actually going to the theater itself was an experience.
Yes, an event.
An event, absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're going to bring some of that back.
Looking down the line, how long do you think this is going to take? I know you're not a swami.
No,
but what do you think?
but that's really an easy question to ask. It's going to take as long as it takes the community to embrace the project, to help us get it funded, and to actually go to work and put it together. So it can be done anywhere from 3 years to 6 years, depending on, you know, once again, it takes a village, as the saying goes.
True.
And if everyone gets behind it, and the more funding we can get done and the more support we can get from the community at large, the quicker and faster we can open that beautiful building back up again.
Well, time flies, so you know, I wouldn't be too concerned about that, about, oh my gosh, it's going to be 3 years, I can't wait. 3 years goes by in no time.
Oh, it does. And not only that, one of the things that I'm most excited about is the fact that we are moving forward with creating live entertainment productions and concerts, etc., using other venues around the area so that we can sort of introduce the community to what it is we intend to do, to the level and quality of the work we're going to be presenting. We're going to be bringing in some guest stars. I have many friends that I've known throughout my career. They're very excited to help us, you know, people of importance. So we'll be bringing in live stage productions. We'll be bringing in celebrity cabaret acts. We're going to be doing some things with our local talent where we feature some of the sort of outstanding up-and-comers, if you will, from our own neighborhood. But then we're going to put together a performance group that will entertain at private parties and functions, and, you know. So we're going to be omnipresent in the community for the years to come until we get our beautiful stage open.
The theater itself, I mean, it's a great auditorium, a great place for shows, but there's more to it than just that. Is there a bar or a place where you can, you know, have a drink? You just want that?
I can tell you, I don't want to give away too much until you know, things are a little more concrete, but I've seen the plans, and I can tell you they're quite exciting, and it's very extensive. To make it clear, we're not just looking at revitalizing the theater so we can put on plays. Far more than that. We want it to be a performing arts center. In other words, we want to present concerts, dance recitals, the spoken word. We might bring in small touring productions. We would, local celebrities, major celebrities that we bring in. We also want to make it the stage accessible to the community at large, from everything from beginning community theater all the way to Broadway tours. We want to be all-inclusive, and we want to have, like, I guess the saying is, something for everyone. My dream would be for people to speak at that theater in a way in which they would say, just go. Doesn't matter. Whatever they put on there, it's always fantastic, you know? And if we can get that reputation, then we've won.
And also included, besides that, I know you're open to the business community as far as using that for other things, for charity events or dinners,
absolutely.
Things like that.
Absolutely.
Will there be facilities for that in the theater?
That's sort of our intention. We're sort of taking it one day at a time right now. It's such an overwhelming task when you look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when you start breaking it down and what needs to be done and in what order, et cetera, that's sort of where we're at right now. We're in the early planning stages, working with a terrific board of directors. We're putting our heads together to come up with things that we can bring to the community that will get the community to be involved with the process. I wanted to share with you, I work with a theater called the Shadowland in the Catskill Mountains. It's in Ellenville, New York. It's in what used to be called the old Borscht Belt, where all the resorts, you know, and think Dirty Dancing, you know, that kind of thing. Well, that era passed, and those resorts are long gone, and the town was sort of struggling along what used to be a resort-funded town. And they had a little theater very similar to the State, not quite as large, but the same idea, an old vaudeville house that became a movie house that, you know. They went in, they've restored it over several years. I've been director in residence for musicals for 11 years. the town went from a near ghost town, if you will, and I say that with respect, but a near ghost town to a thriving community because of the theater. And the reason why is when that theater is functioning, there are 300 plus people, foot traffic, that come through that downtown area to see the show. That means that 2 hours before the show goes up, every restaurant table is full. 2 hours after, all the pubs are happening and alive. They started bringing in artists to some of the abandoned storefronts and opened them up as studios and created sort of an artistic environment. So now it's a little bit of a destination town where people will go up for the weekend to Ellenville to look through the art galleries, to see the beautiful Catskill Mountains, of course. The famous Cohen Bakery is there. I don't know if you know, legendary pumpernickel bread is there. And now the beautiful Shadowland Theater. Example of some of the fun stuff that goes on there. I've directed, like I said, several of the musicals. One day I'm in the box office with the artistic director, Brendan Burke, who's going to be helping me with this project a lot, passing on information and knowledge from their experiences. There's a knock on the window at the box office, and there's a lady there, and I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, I know her. So in my mind, I'm thinking, is this a wife of one of the board members? Or I'm trying to place her. But I know her. I know that we've met before, and we're having this conversation. And suddenly it dawned on me it was Marcia Gay Harden.
Oh.
And she just lives in the neighborhood, and she just stopped by to see if there's anything we needed, if she could help out with anything, or,
Beautiful.
So the town embraced the theater, the celebrities embraced the theater, and now there's this thriving, highly respectable theater that literally is the heartbeat of this town. And I would love to see that history repeat itself here in Stoughton.
That could happen.
It could, absolutely.
Very
I
well,
wouldn't be
yeah,
here if I didn't
yeah.
believe it. Yeah.
I think in the towns in this area of Massachusetts, of Boston, I should say, that have theaters, this was one of the most respected of all of them.
It's got quite a history.
It does. It really truly does.
And I also finding out sometimes just walking down the street, and I'll be with one of the board members, and someone say, "Oh, this is Michael Fleur, he's helping with the state," and I just get this whole bursting dam of memories of, when I was a kid, I remember we used to. One of the things I talked to the board about doing is bringing back the kiddie matinee on Saturdays. Where imagine if we could open it back up again, where the viewers' children could come in, see 4 or 5 cartoons, a double feature,
A serial.
Exactly, and really kind of bring back that experience, because people our generation and up will tell you about how important that was. Those
It truly was.
Remember bringing the bread wrappers in exchange for admission?
Yes, yeah. That wouldn't happen today. But you get something comparable to it.
But we want. I guess what I'm trying to say is we want to bring back the theater going experience to the community in with highly professional productions, extremely dedicated works toward the human condition. That's a big statement, but what I mean is theater is so important because it's how we communicate the human spirit. It's how we tell our stories. It's how we told stories before there was television and movies. And I think it's something that the human soul needs is to express itself and to share. And if we can create exciting works, performances, concerts, etc., that bring generations together, providing an opportunity for grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, and the kids to go together to experience something. That's kind of what's in our target right now, if that makes sense to you.
I think you're going to do it.
I think so too. I really do.
I really do, yeah. I think in the remaining time we have left, I want our viewers to know more about you and your background and what brought you up here.
We can go to any post office, my picture's up on the wall.
How much is the reward?
Yeah, right.
But you've been in show business a long time.
Since I was 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
And you've worked with many, many famous people.
Many famous people. I've been very, very lucky. I never took no for an answer, I guess, and everyone said, you'll never be able to do this, and I sort of went out to do it. And you follow a path, and one thing leads to another, and I've just been very, very fortunate to have been accepted into productions where some of the greatest people in the industry have worked. And I apprenticed with the legendary Joshua Logan.
Wow.
So you know who he is. That's
Of
exciting.
course.
I always tell everybody,
God.
Google him. Joshua Logan. gosh, his Broadway shows, Picnic, South Pacific, Annie, Get Your Gun, Mr. Roberts.
One of the greats
on
of
and on.
theater.
And motion pictures. His movies were
Right,
Camelot,
20th
Bus,
century theater.
yeah, the Great South Pacific, one of the greatest
Oh, yeah.
movie musicals ever made. So I performed in a show that he did called Musical Moments. We toured around the country, and Josh would sit in a big chair like this and tell these incredible stories, backstage stories of things that happened and some of the legends of theater. And then 3 of us would sing all the music from his shows. So I spent many, many, many evenings on an airplane with the great Joshua Logan, hearing these unbelievable stories. One of my favorite personal stories to tell is when I first got hired, I was very nervous, and we were flown into New York. We rehearsed at his apartment. River House is where he lived. His neighbor was Henry Kissinger. And
Really?
I remember going into his apartment the first time, and his apartment was like the Addams Family home. It was like a museum. I mean, literally things from around the world, from all these legendary productions. And he had this beautiful white, solid white grand piano. And I went over with my music and I put it on, I went plunking out some notes, and Josh walks up with this very sly grin and he says, "You like that piano?" And I said, "I do." He said, "Richard Rodgers wrote Bally High at that piano."
You're kidding. Oh my word.
Yeah.
I mean, that's history.
Yeah, well, I dared not touch it again. And, but just hearing all these stories, and when you find out why and how things, one of the stories I've shared before that he tells about the movie South Pacific was, do you remember how when you're watching the movie and they sing Bally High, all of a sudden the whole screen goes orange?
Yes. Yeah.
And then it goes yellow. And
Yeah, I remember.
well, that's one of the greatest accidents of all time.
They were the industry was critical about that.
Well, it was.
They never should have done that.
Well, it was very interesting how it came about, because Josh had at that time it was the old 3-color process, the Technicolor
Yes,
process,
yeah.
and
I remember that.
it had to be hand dyed and hand painted. It was quite an ordeal. So when Josh had a meeting with the, I'm going to call him the colorist. Forgive me, motion picture industry. I don't know the proper term, but the person that was responsible for that, and he said, "Listen, when the water's blue, I want to see blue, and when the sky is the sunset orange, I want to see orange."
Yeah.
Well, the person interpreted that as make everything blue, and Josh meant specifically the colors of each item.
So actually, it was a mistake.
It was a huge mistake, and it was the negative. And so the negative was ruined, and they had this emergency meeting, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And Josh was like, "Well, let's call it something. Let's call it Colorama," or I forgot what the term that they came up with.
Famous name. I
Yeah,
don't even know what
and
it
so they made it into a marketing ploy, and when they did it, it was like the audiences oohed and awed over what was a terrific mistake.
Yeah, it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I remember that very clearly. It's just too bad they did that.
Yeah, it's very funny though, because it worked sort of against them and for them at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you couldn't hate it,
Right.
but you couldn't love it either. It was like
I just
somewhere in
remember
the
thinking,
middle.
why is this everything orange? Great, but who's to criticize one of the greatest classic motion pictures of all time?
I remember living through South Pacific when it first opened on Broadway. Buying the album and playing it over and over and over. I knew every word, and then waited until it came to Boston. At what we had an opera house in those days, and the Broadway cast was about to change theaters in New York, and there was a waiting period. So they came to Boston for, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks, and they played the old opera house, and I was fortunate enough to get tickets for it.
Yeah.
And boy, I really lived that through.
Read Josh's books; you'll enjoy them.
I will.
Some of these
yeah.
great show business stories.
What's the name of his book? I don't think I know.
Movie Stars and myself, I think, is one of them, and the other one is I think it's called just Joshua Logan. There may be a.
Well, I can check the library.
Yeah, but they're great reads
Yeah.
about some of the great legends of all time. The young apprentice whose first day at work is to be sent down to call Ethel Merman to the stage.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes and knocks on the door and he says, "Miss Merman, you're on." And she says, "Yeah? How am I doing?"
Another great show. Yeah. I wish we could go on and on with this. This has been wonderful, Michael.
Thank
so
you.
glad to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for
today.
having me.
And I wish you all the luck. And I know that the Friends of State Theater are behind you 100%.
Friends of State Theater, we have a Facebook page. Google us, find us. We need your help. Get involved. Help us make this dream come true.
Right. Well, that's our show for this time. My name is Guy Giampapa. Thanks for watching Preview. Bye-bye.